Hey, how's it going, guys? Jessie Lee with the Meeting of the Minds, episode number 2 of the Dream series. Before we get into that, I'd like to make an announcement or two and touch base on a couple of things, as well as start the show this time by reading a poem to you guys that I wrote last night. It was actually inspired off of a Facebook meme, and the Facebook meme caused me to comment, and it's a combination, the poem, of both the Facebook meme as well as my response to it. So right before we get into the episode, I'll read that, but before then, I'm gonna have a couple of things to say here. First, I want to start out by saying it looks like in possibly 1 week I will have my apartment and no longer be homeless. It has been almost 7 years. My homeless date was November 2nd of 2011. And hopefully by September 1st, I'll be indoors. And I won't have to see a 7th November 2nd on these streets. So I'm really excited about that. And I want to put that out there for anyone who has known about my background a little. Y'all can do some happy dancing. Now I want to do a refresher on the last show that we had about the dreams. The last show we focused on what biological purpose do dreams have on our bodies, besides as a filing cabinet system for our thoughts and our all of our memories and stuff. And we found last week, or last show, that it actually can affect our mental clarity, our emotional dispositions, as well as even, yes, our weight. Honestly, that was probably the most shocking thing for me to find out. So now, we're going to get into the poem. And I read this at an open mic night last night at the Root of Happiness Kava Bar, where I did one of my special segments for this show. And actually it was very spontaneous. I went last night just to check it out, to plan to do it for the next time. And I think the kava got to me, guys. And I kind of, as I was asking questions about when the next open mic night would be, in the background, my mind, I could hear poetry start. And next thing I know, I'm at the sign-up sheet, signing up, and sitting down at a table and writing a poem. Right here. We're gonna read it. Unknown variables. Yes. Oscar buddy. Oscar buddy. Hi. Excuse me for a minute, guys. Thank you, bud. You're a good guard dog. Okay. No more overkill. Sorry. Oh. Again, the joys of being live. This poem is called Mystical Fires. Who can stand inside of our fires and not run? Who can face when we become? their mirror. Who is in love with truth? Who is in love with strange? Who's in love with change? Who can stand inside the fire of a mystic's eyes as they pierce your soul? Many we have seen running from their reality as their buried truths rise with the temperature of our gaze. Suddenly they lay their lives before our feet. But now that your soul lay naked and bare, and at your own wills, you run. Unable to handle the unconditional love of a mystic. For all your pains have clouded your judgment that you first intuited, the fears of the fires of the purification from bodily desires, to be replaced with desires of the higher. Who can pair with the mystic and survive our flames? We do not allow you to stay inside that page of your book. Our presence burns. It burns away the patterns that you hang on to, but do not serve or honor your role. To reach as the trees grow taller, reaching higher toward the sunfire. Who is in love with truth? Who is in love with strange? Who's in love with change? Who can stand in the fire of the mystic?
Right at the age where they are starting to like.
And that's an area where I know, right? Well, not the whole, but like
Dreams are pretty mystical. They themselves are entities of mystics. They morph, they transform, they can cause terror and fear, great joy. They can make you experience those deep down feelings of loss that you run from consciously. They seem to know no time. Time is irrelevant with dreams. Time either freezes or moves quickly, shifts even. Slow motion to fast forward. Running you back then all the way back in time, like in Back to the Future. Dreams are your DeLorean. Dreams are mystics. Not just people, but dreams too. And as a mystic moves, you know not from where they came or where they're going to go to. Like the wind, so do dreams. And today, that's what we're going to discuss. You see, many of us are confused by our dreams. I think even now more so than before in humanity's existence. Because we have so many unreal things that are kind of at our fingertips these days. The ability to create fantasy and actually see it with your eyes and hear it with your ears on things like this right here, this video. Because of this unreality that we physically can touch at all times. Love and light, Brian. Thank you for coming. Because of that unreality, our dreams can be filled with a lot more confusing symbols that do mean things to us because we physically interact with them, these phones. But truth be told, they show a fantasy world the majority of the time. Our dreams are sitting there trying to make sense of that fantasy world, how to incorporate it, and also speak to us on a level we'll understand if we'll just take a moment to look behind the veil of the mystical dream. Dreams are wonderful for our biological health, as we found out last week. And dreams also serve an interesting purpose to teach us about the reality that we are living in consciously when we're awake, and the fact that scenes are forever changing with no explanation, as well as time is irrelevant. The way that the dreamscape is laid out is what we're going to talk about today, and what that dreamscape teaches us about our awake time. First, let's talk about scene changes. The way that dreams can shift from your old high school to your current job and to your home is quite an interesting ride. I have noticed a lot of the times in my dreams that my scene changes are connected like rooms in a house, and doorways or halls lead you to the next segment of the dream. That they feel very much like you're in the same spot, yet you go from the auditorium of your old high school into the backyard of your old home the moment that you walk through the door connected to the auditorium of your old high school, which seemingly makes no sense. Now, another thing I had noticed is sometimes scene changes may not use doors, but alleys or streets. And a dream I can remember having as a kid had my school that I was attending, which was a boarding school, and it was 2 or 3 towns away from where I lived. It was about an hour and 15 minutes on a good day, on a good ride. Hour and 45 minutes if you got caught by a train, away from my house. Yet in my dream, my house and my school were connected by a short alley, making it seem as though my school was right there. This, hold on. Ah, yes. Your external reality definitely influences your dreams. Be careful what you watch when you go to bed, people. Don't watch alien movies. Don't watch vampire movies. If you think that what you are taking in with your eyes and your ears does not affect what happens in your dreams, you're wrong. And it does. But what is interesting is that even though our brains will take that stuff in, I want you to know something. And this may cause you to start looking at those strange random dreams because you ate a hoagie and watched, a feature of The Walking Dead or something. Your mind is not just making stuff up according to what you watched or ate. But your mind is actually working to use that imagery as symbology, a communication tool, shorthand even, about the world around you, about you, especially about you, and your perception of some area of your life, if not all areas. So even when our minds, want to make out that it really, our logical minds, the ego, wants to make out that that dream last night, it was only brought up because of a movie. No, it wasn't. The movie, in fact, just spoke to your creative side of you, your feminine mind that we talked about last time, the subconscious, and it engaged your subconscious mind and gave it even more information, more imagery, so that your subconscious mind can have a larger language with you. So, though it may be processing the movie, the dream is not just processing the movie, it's also talking to you about your life. Every dream is talking to you about your life. Now, part of the important language of dreams is how they move and flow. Now, we've talked about how they change scenes, how they morph. Was watching SG1. Hold on, let me see if I can catch that again. Was watching SG1 and replicators were attacking my family. Funny thing was that every person was sleeping in the room. There we go. Was sleeping in the room. Everyone sleeping in the room had the same type of dream. My daughter had night terrors because of it. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to get excited about something that sounds terrible. I understand, first of all, the anxiety in that. The anxiety will go away once you realize what's going on. Now, I'll have to do a segment about oneness on another episode, but I'll touch base shortly. I'll touch base shortly on this mass dream that your family experienced, and then I'll do a larger episode about this idea. Basically, everyone is connected through energy. Science has proven this, and even Orthodox religions are beginning to finally catch on to. It's a universal consciousness that is happening here. We're all tapping into it. If you get struck with a bright idea suddenly out of nowhere, you best believe you're not the only one in the world at that very moment getting struck by that bright idea. There are a few that have been struck around the world at the same exact time by this bright idea that you got struck with. This is an example in your waking time. Now, there's a scripture that I've read that says that many are called, but few are chosen. And in this moment, I interpret that type of scripture to be talking about a universal consciousness. And a movement that gets sent out by it, by spirit, by whatever it is that has us alive, aware, and evolving. Whether you want to call this God, I call this Jesus, or you call it just a universal thing, just this is the universe and the way it is, and that's that. I don't care what you call it, but we all know deep down that something is up, and we're part of it. No matter who we are, it's what keeps us striving to reach higher heights. Well, this universal consciousness sends out ideas. And whoever wants to grab on, yes, a lot of things feed off of fear. And that's why this is important to hear right now. Because this universal consciousness also has other energies that come into it. It is the consciousness of not only the earth itself, but the people in it, the animals and the plants. We're all involved in receiving information through not only our natural external senses, but even within. And the dream world is sitting there attempting to put it together for us in a type of format that's like a zip file. Now, when it's something that more than one individual needs to know, a mass dream can happen. It's not impossible. And actually, scientists have found this to be true. They've done studies on that, as well as things like mass hallucination. And it's how they're starting to figure out that, yes, everything is connected, either through vibration, however it is. I mean, they call it vibrations, and everything does vibrate. Now, the interesting thing about dreams is that their first function for you is biological. Their second function for you, yes, our dreams, if we're connecting and wanting to connect with that oneness, our dreams will be doing a lot to push us towards the functionality of love rather than fear. But there was a time that worldwide, I would say a season of dreams that were to inspire a fear over the world. It was a time of an awakening. Now that there is a population out there, a small one, that has awakened, there's a shift that I've noticed that occurs in the dreams now, where it's not really inspiring fearful imagery, unless you are one that has not been touched by a person awakened, or you yourself did not go through the awakening back then. The dream world may still be terrifying for you in some ways, and maybe your family. One way or another, the dreams are trying to always constantly shift us to try to overcome fear with love. And it's a very powerful thing. And once you get rooted in your awake time, rooted more and more in love and less in fear, and your mind chatter is less and less fearful and more encouraging, your dreams also will shape and morph into that direction, and actually even become clearer in the things that you might need to do. Getting back to the topic at hand. The second function of dreams is to teach you. The second function of dreams is to teach you that we are living in a constantly shifting environment where time seems to exist but doesn't. Waking time examples. Two people will come into a conversation with one another and they'll be talking about their day. One person will say to the other, "Wow, I don't know where the day went. I woke up and the next thing I knew, it was nighttime." And the other person will be like, "Are you serious, man? My day moved so slow today. It felt like it was never going to end." Well, when you have entered into a conversation like this in your waking reality, you begin to see that maybe time isn't what we think. Maybe time is just as shifty as the moon. It shows up, it's always there. Even when it's the new moon, it's there. If you're looking hard enough, you can find it. Yet it's shifty in how it comes and appears to you. Sometimes time moves slow, like molasses, and sometimes it's so fast. 20 years seems like just about only one. And our egoic minds, which is the mind that is rooted to the physical body, and it is the scientific mind, the mind that won't believe anything unless it can physically prove it over and over and over again. And that is our egoic mind. And it is that mind that puts things to chronological order, linear time, when in fact it's not. Reality is really not that linear. If it were that linear, you wouldn't have several messed up events happening in your life all at one time. Because if time is linear, then it can only take one event at a time. Time isn't linear. Time moves about just like the trees. And as you see the roots of the trees and also the branches of the trees, so time also moves. Which is why so many random events, good and bad, can happen in your life at once. And also why it's really hard for you to keep track of when something happened. Especially over a course of, well, there's that word again, time. Time is so elusive. It really is. And we get so caught up in its theory. And when we get caught up in its theory, that's when we start living lives with regret and worry and fear. The idea of time in and of itself being chronological and linear, and how the world wants to impress that on us. And when I say the world in this moment, I'm not talking the natural environment. I'm talking about man's egoic mind, and man meaning all of humankind. And in that moment, you know, when you're having these dreams, and time seems to freeze. You're running in a dream, right? And you know you're putting all your effort into that run. Your body, you're looking down in the dream and you see your legs going. But isn't it a funny thing? When the buildings you're supposed to be rushing past are going by at a turtle's pace? What is that saying about time? Right there. And then it suddenly shifts and you're somewhere else. Sneeze of truth. See my synchronicities episode for that statement. That would have been the first episode of this show right here. Anyways, time is never linear. Our minds that are awake are always trying to trick us into thinking it is and confuse us. Our dreams are always trying to reveal the truth to us. How we feel about our dreams is our reaction to the truth, even if we may not understand what the dream means. It's a natural conversation between your wake mind and your subconscious mind. Your feelings when you wake up about your dreams reflect what you feel about the truth. These are the mechanics inside the dreamscape, the shifts of scenes, the illusion being made very plain and clear by how time passes in the dream, the illusions of time, and your feelings upon waking. The mechanics, these three things, they all serve the purpose to continuously bring you around to a better version of you. Like last week, you were version 1.0, and a few dreams later, now you're version 2.0. If you're paying attention, you can evolve so much faster than if you're not paying attention to your dreams. Don't live in your dreams. Live in your reality here and allow your dreams to be the tools to help shape who you are inside to a better you. And then you get to create your external reality and change your life. And even help change the lives of the people around you and the environment you're living in. Dreams are there to either scare us out of our former habits or invite us into new ones. And these three mechanics of the dreams are the first steps that the dream takes. Now there's a fourth mechanic to dreams that we're going to talk about and spend 2 episodes on. And that's going to be the symbology of dreams. Their meanings, that will be the next episode. And I'm going to have a guest on that episode, which will be on Saturday. Be looking on my Facebook account or my Instagram for the information, but I'll give it a shout out now. It's going to be 12 o'clock Pacific on Saturday, and that will be 2 o'clock Central Time. So whatever other time zones you guys might be in, you can figure it out from there. make sure you show up for Saturday's episode, because I'm going to have a guest. Her name is Sharon, and she's going to talk to you guys about what happened when she followed some advice from the first episode of this series, about bringing creativity into your waking time in order to merge your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, especially if you're not having dreams. And she wants to share with the audience her results on following this advice. So that's going to be, I think, a exciting episode, and I'm really excited to have you guys arrive and listen in, and also hear about what the symbols mean, and speak about yours, what symbols have come into your lives, and we'll figure out from there how this works. Maybe we'll get into some dream interpretation, and so bring your dream books, and I'll sit back with you guys and tell you what I've learned, and you from there will have the power to interpret your own dreams. You won't need me to do it for you. And the final episode will be how we can use our dreams, our symbols, the communication to work in our benefit, to change ourselves, our world, and be a light example for other people. This is Jessie Lee, signing off from the Meeting of the Minds. Thanks for watching.